I just have a lot of compassion for that, right? Like if you feel like you have to be perfect, it's probably because there's something that you feel ashamed of or you feel like you don't belong. And that's tough. And I've just so completely found that real belonging comes from the inside. And that's when you attract people to you and kind of create your own circle that really feels authentic to who you are and what you love.
Welcome, everybody, to the Perfect 10 podcast. We're so excited you chose to join us today.
We have the incredible, amazing, top of my list guest, Charlie Bird, in the house with us today. We are so excited to hear your story.
That's right. Charlie is a two-time author, an advocate, and he's a social media sensation. His page is the best, but so many people know him as Cosmo the Cougar that went viral at my alma mater, BYU. That's my alma mater. So welcome, Charlie.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here.
One thing I have to say is I met you and your husband at the Utah Jazz game. We were kind of in a box and we just chatted for a while, and it was just such authentic, light, beautiful conversations full of open-minded questions and answers. And I just got to know you guys a little bit, and you are just beautiful. And I'm not just talking physically. Yes, you are both gorgeous, but you have these souls that just are meant to teach people how to love, how to learn, and I can't get enough. So I'm so
that's
excited
really
to
nice.
have you.
I'm like, you don't have to make me blush
I
on the
know.
podcast.
Blush or cry. We appreciate blushing and crying. Okay, so I gave a little intro, but tell us just in a little synopsis who you are, what you want to share with everybody about Charlie Bird.
Yeah, so I actually grew up in Missouri on a ranch and kind of had I'm in a really small rural conservative town, and I was gay growing up and wouldn't have even said that. Like that word was completely off limits. But I think that context adds a little bit of, it was just interesting growing up in that environment and then being from a very religious family and a very conservative religion, which I love and holds dear to my heart even still. But there was quite a few challenges growing up in that environment, and it took a lot of resilience and reflection and courage to be able to figure out who I am and what I want and my place in the world and keep the relationships that were important to me. And so I think as an adult, I am really passionate about giving people the resources I didn't have growing up. And that's kind of what both of my books are. And I went to school to become a clinical therapist, so I can kind of help with the mental health crises centered around being different in a place where different is hard.
I love that. That's so cool. You took your experience and made it into something that you can help people with.
Yeah,
And that's
the
what we
goal.
talk about, is that your differences make you perfect, because that's your special magic powers, your differences. And you're teaching these kids that from the get-go. So did you know very early that you were gay, from the beginning?
I knew I was different. My earliest memories, I was like, there's something that's different about me versus other guys. And I didn't realize what that was until I was about 14. And that's pretty typical. I think most people, as you're puberty. Oh no, the puberty word.
Yes.
No words are off
sure.
limits here.
No, for sure.
But kind of
for sure.
as my body and my brain developed, I was like, oh, that's what this is. And when attraction first started for me, it was in my mind at the time, the wrong way. Mm-hmm. And like I said, it was hard. It led to a lot of conversion therapy techniques, praying, trying everything I could to be different than what I was, because I felt like the only way that I could have a successful life or live the life I wanted or that everyone else had planned for me was to change.
But boy, did you prove them wrong.
Well, yeah.
Because you've created a beautiful life.
Yeah. And it's really lucky. It's a life I didn't know existed.
Yeah.
A life I could never have imagined.
That's crazy. So a big part of your journey was being Cosmo the Cougar. I mean, I know it's the fluffy part of it, right? Did you grow up dancing?
Kind of. I grew up, honestly, the truth is I grew up being obsessed with Shakira.
Okay. Shakira.
And I would just watch her music videos and be like, I wonder if I could do that.
Who isn't?
So I'm in my bathroom with the door locked.
Yeah.
Watching Shakira music videos and practicing.
So that's how you
hip
learned to
movements
dance
in the mirror. So kind of basically. And then I would go to youth dances for
Okay.
church, regional dances. And I just, one day I was like, I'm kind of good.
Yeah.
And then I just,
There's a natural part of it.
well, yeah. So I never really had any official dance training until I was in college and was the mascot. And I started working with the Cougarettes and kind of like meeting other dancers and more like professional level dancers who would give me tips, and I would like kind of practice and rehearse. But yeah, it's just, my hips don't lie.
Yeah, your hips. No, but there is like people who got it or you don't.
Yeah.
And especially with males, I feel like they're either really good, like have rhythm, or they have to really work at it.
Yeah.
Okay, so I've got to know, you are Cosmo the Cougar. Obviously, you put a lot of work into it because not all of them put in that work to move and to dance. And you do this. I mean, you're amazing. So, Role goes viral, right? And Cosmo's going viral and rising to this huge sensation, but nobody knows that it's you. What is that like to have something go viral, but no one knows it's you?
It was very odd. And actually that was during homecoming week too, which also coincided with like midterms. That was the craziest. I think I was sleeping like 2 hours a night that week because I was like as the mascot in these interviews, like news shows. And I flew out to Atlanta for the ESPN College Football Awards. Like it was just such a busy time. And it was really fun actually because I'm in college and everyone on campus was talking about it and sharing the video, and people would show me like, have you seen this? Look, I wonder who it is. I'm like, oh my gosh, he's so cool. I wonder, is it one of the dancers? And I'm just kind of playing into it. And it was really like kind of a surreal, like little secret that me and just a few of my buddies knew.
And was it kind of with the costume on, you could be you, like gay, like be a gay man and out there and loving life. And the costume kind of helped you be allowed to do, like, I felt like that would be kind of a great bridge to kind of,
I
know what I mean?
Being Cosmo, like finding so I actually got cut the first time I tried out to be a mascot. Yeah.
It's embarrassing for BYU.
No. It's okay because it was my fault.
Yeah.
Because I was insecure. So growing up, I was so afraid of like looking too feminine or girly or gay. I didn't want to be made fun of, and I was. So it was like a lot of trying to be different, trying to fit in. And so when tryouts are like crazy intense.
Oh, I'm sure.
Basically, it starts out with like 3 hours of they work you out to the bone and make you throw up.
Yeah.
And then tryouts start just to make sure that you have the stamina to be able to like safely tumble and do tricks in the suit because it's hot, it's heavy.
The pressure.
And so we did all of this, and I grew up in sports. I played basketball, I ran cross country. So I was like fine. I was like middle of the pack when it came to like we timed the mile and how many pull-ups can you do, how many push-ups. It was like a long. Did you ever do it in PE, like the presidential?
Yeah, I hate that.
It was like that times 1,000. And then tryouts start. And so there's different sections like tumbling, breakdancing. And for one of them, we had to throw a ball. And everyone went and they threw the ball and we had to like hit a target on the wall. And I was hitting the target, but the people judging were like, could you throw again? And they had me throw like 6 times. And I was like, oh my gosh, I look gay when I throw. And I was like, I am mortified right now because I'm the only person. And I was hitting the spot on the wall, but it was like they were just watching my form. And I was like, oh no, I'm throwing like a girl, which I think is fine, by the way.
Which I think is awesome.
But back then I was like, I got so...
because it was one of your insecurities.
Yeah. And I just felt so nervous. And it brought back that childhood insecurity. And then the next section was dancing. So everyone shows off their dance moves. And I was so mortified of looking too gay while I was dancing that I just did like very basic to show I had rhythm. And then I got cut. I didn't make it.
Well, that breaks my heart because Emily, our whole business started because Emily taught me. She's like, just be you. Like you... 1000% authentic you, and you watch what happens, and amazing things happen. And so getting cut because you weren't being 100% authentic.
Yeah, exactly.
You.
Well, and that's exactly what did happen because I wanted it so bad. And like I said, like my Missouri rancher background showed up. I'm just not going to leave. Like I know where this is happening and what time. So I just showed up to practice and I washed towels and I drove the trailer and I was just like, I will just stay here until an opportunity arises. And then one time somebody like couldn't make an event that like Cosmo couldn't make it. And I was like, I mean, like the suit fits me. So I did it. And then I had this idea. I had some Cougarette friends and watched them dance. And I was like, I could do that. And I just kind of like took it upon myself. I reached out to one of them. I learned the dance, watched the video, talked to their coach, talked to my coach. And I was like, I think I could do this. And then I did, and it worked. Yeah. And the dance that ended up going crazy viral was like a lot of hips.
Yeah.
Right? It's like body rolls. Yes. It starts like that. And I was like, I think that was one of the moments I realized being me makes me successful.
Is my superpower.
Really?
Is my superpower. Yes.
It was cool.
And the perseverance of that is so cool.
I love that you went for it.
That 2 summers ago, we did a huge event with BYU, and Cosmo did high with us.
That's
the
so
current,
fun.
Or I don't know if it's still the current Cosmo.
He's good.
He's great. And he came and did high with us and practiced with us. And it was so much fun. In fact, the reel popped up the other day. It's like, highlight of my life doing high with Cosmo and the fireworks. We had fireworks going.
Really
it was
fun.
so cool. I was wishing it was you.
Yeah.
But
well, truthfully, the new Cosmo is a better dancer than me.
But you raised the bar because there
you.
was no Cosmo moving like that before. So if they are good now, it's because you raised the bar.
Yeah.
Your charisma, if you could bottle it up, we would be gazillionaire. Like your just charisma is magic. It is. And I love how you're you.
Thank you.
That you're now you and you're not hiding your living.
I love it.
It's the best.
I love that story. So you graduate from BYU. That's hard to leave when you're having so much fun being something like Cosmo. Like that's hard to leave behind. The rest of us are like, get out of college, right? So you go out into the world, you decide to come out, right? And you write your book. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah. Well, I was coming out to like people in college, family, really close friends. And I was actually part of like a student administration working group at BYU talking about the concerns because mental health issues, depression, suicidal ideation, anxiety among the LGBTQ community is much higher.
Yes.
The demographic is just really impacted. And I think it goes back to some of the things we were talking about, like the secrecy and shame. And so I was working in small areas and I never planned on coming out publicly. I was like, I feel good with myself. I feel good with my family. And I moved to New York City and I was dating and it was really hard because I felt like people didn't understand me because I'm gay, but I'm also like very religious. And like I said, these like my church membership and my beliefs are so important to me. And it was kind of just like, I felt weird. And I just watched a lot of my friends get into some really tough situations kind of based on insecurity or getting over their heads, not realizing, not having family support. And I was like, this is just like a problem. Like there's just this weight on so many people who are like me. And I kept thinking like, who's going to speak up? Who's going to say something? And there were groups, but I was like, I just realized that I had to do it.
Yeah, you had a platform.
I was like, if no one's making the resources I needed, I guess I have to do it. And my sister helped me. We had a long conversation. She was like, Charlie, like, if you see this need, why are you going to wait for someone else to fulfill it?
I feel like God called you to do it.
I do too.
Yeah,
and
100%.
I realized that kind of that platform I had this entire community bought into me as the mascot. And it was like, that just doesn't happen, right? And I was like, maybe they could see, like hold enough space to see the real me because they loved the Cosmo me.
Yeah.
And I think because of that, I've been able to reach people who otherwise maybe wouldn't have been able to gain proximity to the experience of a gay man.
Well, you are a trailblazer. I mean, I'm sure there's other before you that were gay and active in the church.
Well,
I'm in my parents' ward, actually, where I grew up. There was a single man who was active and gay.
Yeah.
I don't think he was as open, but you are a trailblazer in this world, which comes with a lot. And so, yes, it was your calling, I believe it was your calling from God, but that doesn't mean it's going to be easy. I mean, this is probably I can't even imagine. I think on every post that I comment of yours, I'm like, you're amazing. I try to cheer you on because you are so needed though. For me being an active LDS member of the church, like I see this need so much. And I am so grateful that you've taken this, this stand and been able to educate and help families and people and just youth. And it's really, really amazing.
Well, thank you. And really, I feel like I'm standing on the shoulders of giants, like the generations or like decades before me, the LGBTQ members of the church, they had it way worse. Like they in so many ways paved the way for me to be able to get to a place where I was healthy enough that I could come out publicly.
Yeah.
And it feels like an honor to like carry that torch, and I can't wait to see who else carries the torch even further than what me and my contemporaries are trying to do now.
So was that your inspiration behind writing Behind the Mask?
I think my first book, Without the Mask, was really
Without the Mask.
Oh, it's fine.
Sorry.
Both are great.
You're going to use that title later. It's fine.
It really, I was just trying to write the book I needed when I was 14.
Okay.
And that the first time when I was like, oh my gosh, this is what's quote unquote wrong with me. Mm-hmm. I was like, this happens to people daily.
Yeah.
Right? There is a percentage of God's children that are just gay, and we're just like this.
Yes.
And I wanted to be able to give that younger me the resource I didn't have. And it has been amazing to see how well that book has done, how many people have read it, the response. And it's also been a great way for families. It's a very soft introduction to a topic that was very taboo and scary for parents, and giving individuals and their families the resources, the words to say, the concepts, like a launching point for a hard conversation.
Yeah.
It's been really,
The tools that they need.
it's just like, wow. Like, I feel so grateful that I was able to have a piece in that.
Well, if you think of the trickle effect of, young people in the church, and it goes on, they recommend the book, it's a trickle effect. So many people are affected in a positive way because you chose to be open and yourself. And that's where the magic lies in everyone. And I just think it is so amazing that you have done this and become yourself, because the world needs you. The world needs you. You are just amazing.
And I even think even beyond the LDS community, even in other religious, like when you hear about really other religions that kind of can use this same advice, right? I'm sure you've had people reach out to you that are just in religious communities that aren't even in the LDS community.
Yeah, that's where Instagram and social media has really come in an interesting way, because there's like gay Muslims and gay Catholics and gay Jews and like different people who are from a more Orthodox family or background. And they're like, hey, like, this is awesome. I read your book, and some of it, I had no idea what you're talking about. Like, what's the Book of Mormon?
Yeah.
But some of it was really applicable, and it's been kind of like this really cool connection. And so the thing that I used to hide, the thing that I thought would make people shy away from me and destroy my relationships, is actually the thing that's caused me to have some of the most meaningful, strong relationships I've ever had.
After this, you decide to go back to BYU, right?
Yeah.
Get a master's. You're on the cheer team.
Yeah.
Woo. Then they win, or you went to nationals.
We went to nationals, we got fourth.
Yes.
Which is pretty good.
I followed that.
Fourth in the nation. That's not bad.
It's amazing. So you go back, and I'm sure that was a whole situation coming back to BYU as an openly gay man now.
It was different.
Yeah.
It was wonderful.
Wonderful. Yeah.
Freedom.
I loved it. I was just like, I don't have to like hide or worry what people think anymore. Like, why?
Yeah.
Freedom.
Why? And I had all these fears growing up, and none of them came true. I mean, I'm not saying it was easy. Like, I lost relationships. I had to set boundaries. Like, there was definitely pain in some people's reactions, but like, I was alive and kicking. Like, the world didn't stop. And yeah, I thought it would be really cool to get a master's in social work and be able to like kind of go to ground zero and be like, this is the community I want to serve. So I'm going to go back to this school and just be here. Yeah. And it was a really big blessing.
So that's during this whole time is when you met Ryan.
Yeah.
Right?
Isn't that messy?
Aww.
Messy. It's good.
Yeah.
Messy. Fabulous.
Well, for sure. But you're not allowed to date as a gay student at BYU.
Yeah.
At all.
And I
like, even if it was like not, could you date if it wasn't a gay relationship?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Sorry.
So you, I was like, you can't date.
You're like, how did they all get married?
You can't date
No.
in a gay relationship at the school.
Yeah, and I met him,
just clearing this up because I don't know these things.
Yeah, I met him a few weeks before my master's program started.
And was it like instant, like,
oh yeah, like I saw him and I was just like, oh, my little heart did a backflip. And not only was he like the most beautiful person I'd ever seen, I was just like, something just like shifted in the atmosphere here. Yeah. And I didn't know he was gay. We just met accidentally, organically. And then it was actually funny because that night he he made a comment that like sounded offensive. And I was just like, gosh, I'm gonna have to educate people again. And so in like a nice way, I was like, hey, like you probably shouldn't say that like unless you're part of that community. And he's like, well, I am. So
And
And
then
you're
I was
like,
like-
you're like,
ding, ding, ding. But then I was like, oh my gosh.
yeah, then you're like, what am I gonna do?
And so, yeah, it was very difficult. And I love the man. He waited for me for 2 years because I was like, we fell in love so quickly.
you can feel it. Like you
you.
can just feel it. It just comes
Amber's
off
a
you,
matchmaker
like-
by second. Trade High Fitness first, matchmaker second, so she can feel it.
Yeah. After High Fitness, I would be a matchmaker. But I'm just saying, you can just feel the love. You can just feel the comfort. You can just feel like the beauty. It's just
We couldn't stop it.
It's
And
so
Lord
great.
knows we tried. But yeah, he waited for me. And
so he was done school, and then you were continuing.
Yeah,
And he waited.
yeah, well, he actually didn't go to BYU.
Okay.
But yeah, he just was like, oh my gosh, I hate that I fell in love with you because now I got to wait 2 years. But we both stuck it out.
Okay. And the proposal. Tell us everything.
The proposal was so cute.
I love it.
did it next to my hometown in this like beautiful place next to the river. And I had all my family hiding and watching.
Did you ask him?
I asked him.
Oh.
And well, it was cute. I had printed off like pictures of like the timeline of our relationship and like, this is when I loved you but couldn't say it. This is when I wish I could have proposed but couldn't. This is when I really should have but
Yeah.
got spooked. And so now I proposed to him in this like circle of white roses, and then he said yes, and then said, can I propose to you too? And so we kind of just took turns, and it was really special. It felt like
It's amazing. And you had family there. You wanted
and
your
then
family there.
afterwards, the family came and shot us with silly string and screamed and cried, and we all hugged each other. It was really special.
And then this year you got married.
We got married last year in
year.
August.
Because you had a secret wedding.
Kind of.
Well, I mean, it wasn't. You
it
just
wasn't
didn't go
secret.
public
I just
with
wanted
it.
it to be private.
Yeah, you wanted it to be
it was
private.
actually huge. There was
Yeah.
like 1,100
Yeah,
people
no,
at
I
the
know.
reception.
I know it's a big deal,
1,100
but I just
people?
mean
That is
you
incredible.
wanted to keep it with your people first before putting it on social media.
Yeah,
Yes.
and so it was nice. We had a no phones, no social media policy,
Yeah.
and
It was the most stunning. First of all, your photos and the wedding. Oh, it's insane.
It's just
was it the wedding of your
ridiculous.
dreams?
it was. And I really wanted it to be an homage to our relationship,
Mm-hmm.
and because kind of two things were happening. We knew that it was like, I don't want to like pretend it's bigger than it was, but I was like, this is going to be meaningful in the community. Like this is kind of a big deal. And so I wanted to incorporate that like religious / political / kind of like pioneer atmosphere. And that's why we ended up doing it at the Utah State Capitol
So
because it was
beautiful.
built by our ancestors and it like has these beautiful murals of pioneers. And it's just like a community, like progress space, not to mention like
Stunning.
floor to ceiling marble. Like it's gorgeous.
Stunning.
But then we just wanted to make it special. So we did a lot of like in our planning, like we got married in the center of the room with everyone around us. And I just wanted it to feel like reminiscent and symbolic for what it meant to us that we found each other and that we overcame our own selves to be able to grow healthy enough to commit to someone and confident enough to do it in front of our grandparents, you know?
Yeah, that's amazing.
Get married in front of our
Yeah, we knew we
got
you. Well, Mazel Tov, and unbelievable. You guys are just so beautiful. It's crazy. So, the last thing we want to kind of hit.
Yeah. Well, we like to break down perfectionism like on this, and I feel like you live between two worlds of that demand a lot of perfectionism.
Yeah.
The LDS culture can, is perceived that way. She was like, you see, I'm always like, I don't care. I don't try to be perfect. That's never my personality. But the LDS community and then the LGBTQ plus community, both of those are kind of a lot of pressure for perfectionism. So how do you handle that, and how do you stay true to who you are and fight kind of perfectionism?
I think in my life, I've seen when I felt pressure to conform or be perfect, it's because I want to belong. I want to have a community. And I think a lot of times belonging feels conditional, even if it might not be. Mm-hmm. And so there's really strong cultural currents being a member of a church or a member of a community that's like very artistic and kind of has like specific code of conduct, almost like rules, And it's weird because I feel like if you're true to yourself, belonging has to be really internal because you have to let a piece of yourself go, right? If I was to fully conform to what either of these communities wanted me to be, like who wants me to be that way? It's just like my own ideas, right? But I think perfectionism comes when you're out of like a really young and sensitive, earnest space. And so I don't think it's like, I just have a lot of compassion for that, right? Like if you feel like you have to be perfect, it's probably because there's something that you feel ashamed of or you feel like you don't belong. And that's tough. And so just like, for starters, empathy and compassion for former me and anyone who feels like that. And I've just so completely found that real belonging comes from the inside. And that's when you attract people to you and kind of create your own circle that really feels authentic to who you are and what you love. And I think that's when life feels a lot more perfect. Yeah. If that makes sense.
I love that. I love how you said that. People need to rewind and watch that or listen to it again, because I think that's why when I was saying like, I'm pretty good at not feeling like I have to be perfect. Like I'm just like, I'm good. And I think it's because I'm secure in who I am. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Like, I think I'm a pretty good person. I think I'm good at what I do. I want to strive to be better, but I'm secure in who I am. And so I don't feed into that perfectionism, like that need to be perfect. I'm like, that's fine. They can do that, It's
kind of risky. It's kind of vulnerable because like, maybe you do something you love and that feels right to you. And people are like, ooh, we don't like that. That hurts.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And where does your need for validation come from? Because truly, like, it's you and I believe it's God. And if you're good between those two, like power happens. Like this electricity charges.
Magic.
And then you're dancing with the dance team instead of, doing a step touch and running away because you're scared of how you look, right?
Yeah, no.
If I would have conformed to what I thought Cosmo was supposed to be, I never could have changed the...
Yeah. Made it what it
became. It never would have leveled up. There would have been no innovation.
You leveled it up. That's
you
the
perfect, Cosmo.
Perfect word.
It's
and
amazing.
The perfectionism is just like, how did we get to the point where everyone wants to look the same? It's so lame. It's like
so weird.
If we told everyone, okay, everyone's going to have the same personality. You're going to talk like this. Everyone would be like, no. So why are we all buying into this perfectionism mindset? It's crazy. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, it's reminding me of those books that you read in high school, like The Giver, where like they take all the color out of life, and it's just like, this is what it is. I don't know. It just sounds so monotonous.
It is just so boring.
And that's what we've kind of tried to do in 10 years is to fight that. Like, no, don't try to be like everyone else. Be yourself.
High fitness is seriously so fun. It is like, and my favorite thing about it is breaking the rules.
Yeah.
Because I remember I took a class once with Meta, who's like amazing.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh my gosh,
she's
she's better than me, obviously. But I was just like, oh no, I'm supposed to be a good dancer. But then I was like, I like this song and I don't like love that specific movement. So I'm going to do most of it. And then I'm just going to like do whatever I want for a second. And it was so fun.
That's what it's about.
I'm always like, I'm just doing this up here, but you just do it. Sometimes I'm like, I don't know what they're doing out there.
Yeah,
people are always freestyling, and
it's freestyle.
We just want people to have a good time and move it. We just want to ask you a few just fun questions, rapid fire.
Yeah.
You're good for that. So, okay, who is someone you think is just perfect?
I don't know if it'd be a specific person, but I have a lot of like performance or friends who are passionate about something. And when I see them in their element, like in the moment, dancing or modeling or speaking or like just doing what they love, I think it's perfect. It just strikes lightning.
I love that. What's a word that perfectly describes you?
My husband would say chaotic. I'm a little bit all over the place.
My husband might say that about us. Our husbands might say that
it comes
about
with
us.
the territory.
And maybe it's true. And not always bad chaos.
Yeah.
This is
chaos can be good.
Right?
Yeah.
So I guess we'll probably just go with that.
Chaotic.
I love chaotic. Where would you go for your perfect vacation?
Anywhere new, anywhere I haven't seen. I love being somewhere where I have to like kind of be on it and figure things out. I just think it's so thrilling.
That's so
I like
fun.
that, kind of not stay the status quo. That's
Yeah,
awesome.
we're the opposite. I'm like, I like New York. I like Palm Springs. Done.
I'm like, okay, let's go somewhere new.
Yeah.
We're polar opposites.
Emily will go on with adventures with you.
Yeah. What's your perfect way to wind down at the end of a day?
I don't know if I've ever wound down in my life.
You're asking the wrong people.
Yeah.
All of us A-types over here.
Yeah, we're wound tight over here.
If you could.
I like to read.
Yeah.
I think just like reading a fantasy novel, it's just always been so fun. I like weird books. Like the more fantasy it gets, the more I'm like, I need that book on my bookshelf.
Yeah. I do find that reading for me, when I have a lot of anxiety or stress or I'm feeling super overwhelmed, I'm like, I want to listen to an audible or read to kind of take me out of reality a little bit. And I do feel like that is something that does make you feel good.
Yeah, it does. It really does. Reading's just like calm, using your brain.
I know. Sometimes when they're like the self-help books, I'm like, dude, I don't want to be, trying to be better. I just want to escape. And that's probably what you feel with that fantasy.
Yeah. Or like running, when you like, I don't know if you guys are runners or
Yeah, we do.
exercising, like sometimes you
We
get to
used
the
to
point where you're
before
like
high.
thinking, but you're not thinking.
Yes.
I love that
Yeah.
spot in my brain.
I do
Oh,
too.
I love it too. It's like when I play tennis, when I do high, where you're just there kind of like nothing exists and you're just living life. Like those
very
are
mindful, yeah.
beautiful times in life. Like it's what it's all about, I think.
Yeah.
The last question is, what's the perfect piece of advice that you've ever received?
I think it's 80% of success is showing up. I had a professor said that once in terms of like her class. And I was like, I'm going to apply that to the rest of my life. And like I said, that's how I became the mascot. Like I just kept showing up. And so I think being invested and just showing up, 80% of success found
I
right
feel
there.
like that's how we started. We just were like, we're going to do this. And
Yeah.
we just kept showing up and doing it. And
Yeah.
I feel like even with what you're doing right now with your advocacy, your education, like you're just showing up perfectly and
That's
perfect,
nice.
whatever that is, you're showing up.
Well,
just-
and what I love too is even with all the hate, like in your messages and stuff, you just show up as you, and you do not let that bring you down ever. And you just show up, and it's beautiful because that could cause a lot of people to go, not show up. So
When I first started, it was really heavy and it was hard for me to see all that. And then my little sister, like the wisdom of a little sister, she's the baby
I'm the
of the
youngest,
family.
so I get it.
You get it. She was just like, Charlie, all the greats have haters. Like, what do you want? Like, if no one was saying anything, you wouldn't be doing anything. And I was like, that's actually really good advice.
No.
And I've really realized that too. It is very good advice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We had that. We just decided to, last year to kind of upgrade high fitness and take it to the next level with everything we have. And it was the first time we kind of outgrew our people that loved us and, things started coming and haters. And it's hard for me, like being a sensitive soul, but it's like people said that same thing. Like when you're doing great things, that's when the haters come out. And I was like, okay, yeah, you're right. I'm cool enough to have haters now. I'm like, I'd like to stay just this. So I love that advice. That's awesome.
They're
Show
not
up.
doing anything, so then they're judging and getting mad at you because they're not doing the 80%. And that
Who has time to be like on the internet at 3 a.m,
I don't know.
dogging on someone?
Oh,
Like,
it's so crazy.
Go for it.
And that's the thing. When you're so busy, like dogging on someone it's not even on your radar. You're just like, I'm doing my thing. I'm working hard. I'm living my life. I'm living a beautiful life with my family and this gorgeous family that you've created. And so, yeah, what's the future for you guys? Do you have any plans? Do you plan to stay in Utah? We want to know we're nosy over here.
Yeah,
We're
well-
like, tell us everything.
We kind of have this like spoken/unspoken deal. Ryan loves it here. His family's here and they're wonderful. And he's like, I really want a home base. I want to stay here. And I'm like, okay, then we need to travel a lot.
Yeah.
Because again, I like seeing new things. And so we're just kind of living in that space right now, kind of still learning how to be newlyweds and
Yeah.
like deal with our quirks. We got married. We were both 29 when we got married. And
That's a great age.
it is a good age,
It's a
but we were
perfect
also
age.
really independent people, like expecting to be, for most of our lives, expecting we'd always be single, right? So then we're like trying to piece our independent, opinionated selves together.
Yes.
And it's been messy, but really fun.
Oh, it is fun. It is fun.
Yeah.
That's the perfect word for marriage. Messy and fun.
That's how it should be, right?
Chaotic.
Chaotic. Yeah, chaotic. So we like to end with one question is what makes you perfectly imperfect?
I guess I would say that just that I try. I feel like it's Taylor Swift quote, sorry, but like she says, I've never been a natural. All I do is try. And I was like, that feels like me. And there's a lot of aspects of my life that people probably view as like really polished or that I'm really good at, but it came with a lot of work and effort. And so I think I've been able to like attain what other people view as perfect moments because I've just tried really hard. And sometimes it feels overwhelming to try and to care so much, but I think I love that part of my heart because it's helped me grow.
And helped so many.
Yeah.
Helped so many. You've inspired us so much. We've loved having you on
goodness.
here. We could chat for hours.
Just being in your orbit has been such a gift today, and hearing all about your story, we are feeling on top of the world. And thank you so much for joining us today. It was
So if you want to see more from Charlie Bird, you can see on his website at mrcharliebird.com, and also same as your Instagram, right? Mr. Charlie Bird. And he is giving all of you listeners and subscribers 50% off his book with code HIGH. So you can check that out on your website. Is that where they can get it?
HIGH.
HIGH. We get high. We have a good time. Thank you so much.
Generous. Thank you
I
so
want to
much.
dance now.
Let's do it. Let's go.
We're
Let's go
going.
dance.
We're doing it.